I will now be taking you through my client's resting values of his blood pressure and resting heart rate. Heart rate and blood pressure are used to monitor the intensity at which cardiorespiratory exercise is performed. Occasionally, a low heart rate is associated with psychological abnormality, but can also be caused by certain medications. However, other factors also affect heart rate, including temperature, humidity, emotional stress, and smoking. All these factors should be taken into account when using heart rate as an indication of fitness level. I'm now going to take my client's resting heart rate. I'll gently place the tips of my index and middle finger on his neck and measure for 10 seconds, then multiply by the value of 6, and we'll get the value of beats per minute. So we'll do that. His heart rate is 60 beats per minute, which puts him under the average heart rate when using the classification table. A change in position from lying down to sitting or standing increases both the heart rate and the blood pressure. As the body changes, the heart rate has to work harder to pump blood against gravity, which is why people who suffer from a degree of low blood pressure, which is hypotension, sometimes become dizzy if they get up suddenly. There are certain factors that can cause blood pressure to temporarily rise. For example, blood pressure normally rises as a result of stress, smoking, cold temperatures, exercise, caffeine, and certain medications. Blood pressure also refers to the force with which the blood is pumped through the arteries and is therefore very important in blood flow distribution. Today, I will be using a portable blood pressure monitor to distinguish what my client's blood pressure is. So he has been resting for quite some time now on the floor. We're using a portable blood pressure monitor to distinguish what his blood pressure is. So I will place the cuff onto his left arm and we will wait for his results. Can you just turn your arm a bit? It needs to come from here. Right, and we take his blood pressure. His results read his systole is 108/59. Okay. I'll now be measuring my client's BMI using his height and weight. BMI, which stands for body mass index, is measured to determine whether or not his weight is healthy. So the measurement will give a healthy weight range for any particular height, but it is not a perfect representation for people like athletes, like my client, and bodybuilders, because it may give them an obese score when they are perfectly healthy. Therefore, we can say that the BMI is more accurate for individuals with low muscle mass. So BMI is measured as weight in kilograms divided by height. So firstly, I do not have a stradiometer to determine my client's height, but he has given me his height, which is 177 centimeters. And yet also, I don't have a scale available to me, but I know that my client's weight is 93 kilograms. So the scale obviously reads 93 and his height is 177 centimeters. Obviously, when we have a stradiometer, he would need to stand up straight, stand upright, with head in Frankfurt plane, which means that his bottom eye socket must be in line with the top notch of his ear. He needs to take a deep breath in and hold it while I take his measurement. From here, I will then take his results and determine which category he falls into, either underweight, normal, overweight, or obese. I will now be taking you through the waist to hip ratio. This method uses the waist and hip circumference measurement sites to work out the waist to hip ratio. Waist measurement is done over the smallest part of the waist, and hip measurement is done over the larger part of the hip or gluteal area. Males should have a ratio no higher than 0.95. So first I will measure my client's waist. His waist is 86 centimeters. Then I will measure his hips. And his hip measurement is 106 centimeters. So I will take his waist results and divide it by his hip results to get a score, and then determine from there which ratio he falls into, either low, moderate, high, or very high. I will now be taking you through the postural assessment. In the standard posture, the spine represents the normal curves and the bones of the lower extremities, and they are in the ideal alignment for weight bearing. It is important that the pelvis is in the neutral position and the upper back and chest in a position that ensures optimal lung function. One must bear in mind that there are individual variations in body type, size, and shape, and that the guidelines given are the ideal. It is not expected that every individual should match the standard in every respect. When assessing standing posture, a plumb line is used as a reference. The feet are used as the standard fixed point when measuring standing posture with a plumb line. The point of reference must be at the base of the feet. So now I'm going to begin the postural analysis. I'm going to start with the frontal view. First, we would need to analyze the earlobes to see if they are level. All right. We need to analyze if they're level. If not, the earlobe could have a tight trapezius or scalene muscle and would therefore need to be stretched. Secondly, we must check if the client's shoulders are level. However, it has been found that it is normal to have one dominant shoulder in comparison to the other. So as you can see, we would say that his right shoulder is dominant. Right? Thirdly, we would need to check if the iliac crests are level. If not, it would be due to leg length discrepancy as a result of scoliosis and much more. Next, we're going to do a postural analysis from his back. We'll need to check if his spine is straight by palpating along the spine from the top to the bottom. From here, I'll be able to determine if there is a curve or if there's not a curve. So I can clearly feel that there is a curve. Next, I would ask myself if his scapulae are flat. If his scapulae are flat against the thoracic wall. If not, it could be due to a weak lower trapezius and tight pec minor, or could be true winging. So then we'd ask ourselves, are his greater trochanters level? If not, it could be due to leg length discrepancy. I'm going to do the sidal view. Next is the ear and eye. So we ask ourselves, is the ear and the eye level? Is his ear and his eye level? If not, it could be due to a slight elevation of the chin. Does the spine have a normal S-curve? We would also ask ourselves, does his spine have a normal S-curve? I would need to decide whether or not my client's spine is too flat, or if his thoracic region is rounded, or if his cervical region's curve more pronounced. Then we ask ourselves, does the plumb line run through the middle of the shoulder? If not, the shoulder could be anterior translated. Then we ask, what does the lumbar look like? I would need to distinguish if my client's curve is the lumbar curve neutral, more pronounced, or more flattened. Thirdly, does the plumb line run right through the greater trochanter and knee? If the plumb line is in front of the knee, it could be due to hyperextension. If it is behind the knee just slightly anterior to the latter. Lastly, does the plumb line run just slightly anterior to the latter malleolus? If the angle is greater than 90 degrees, it can be due to a hyperextension in the knee. If it is smaller, it could be due to a knee flexion. So I will now be speaking you through the body fat percentage test. The measurement of skin folds involves measuring the thickness of skin folds at a specific site on the body. This test is based on the assumption that approximately 50% of total body fat lies directly under the skin. There are numerous measurement sites and formulae used for calculating body fat percentage, using anywhere from 3 to 7 skin folds. The most accurate being the measurement of 6 skin folds. However, I have not been able to get a hold of a set of calipers, so I will just be discussing the procedure of both the 3 and 6 skin fold methods. 6 and 3 skin fold methods follow the same procedure. First, you would need to identify the anatomical location of the skin fold. Sometimes in males, you can take a piece of skin from their chest. We would take a skin fold from the right side of the body. On the right side of the body, we would grasp the skin fold firmly between the thumb and index finger of the left hand. Hold the calipers perpendicular to the site. Place the pads of the calipers approximately 1 centimeter below the thumb and forefinger. We would then read the dial on the calipers to the nearest 0.5 millimeters, obviously after 1 or 2 seconds after releasing the trigger. We'll take a minimum of 2 measurements at each site with a minimum of 15 seconds between measurements to allow the fat to return to normal thickness. If the 2 measurements vary by more than 1 millimeter, you'd have to measure the skin fold again. You do not measure the skin folds after exercise, as the transfer of fluid to the skin could result in overestimation. In terms of the 3 skin fold test, in men, you would take a skin fold from the abdomen, a vertical skin fold. You would take a thigh skin fold, vertical skin fold midway between the hip and the knee joint. And then you would take a skin fold, like I said, from the chest, a diagonal skin fold halfway between the anterior axillary, axillary line, and the nipple. So I'll now be taking you through the flexibility test, and I will be doing the back arch test with my client. Obviously, all stretches need to be done in a slow and controlled manner to prevent the stretch reflex. So firstly, my client needs to be sitting in a straight position, which he is, of which we will measure the distance from his chin to the floor. Secondly, he will need to maneuver himself into a prone position, lying on the floor with his stomach on the floor with his hands clenched behind his back, and then obviously he will have to lift his upper body. So first we will measure the distance from his chin to the floor. Just hold it there. It's the bottom, and then give me a measurement. Alright. 72 centimeters is the length from his chin to the ground. Now you will maneuver yourself with your stomach onto the ground. And you can place your hands. You will place your hands on top of your back here. Now you will gradually lift yourself up when I count to 3. Then I will take his measurement from his collarbone to the ground. So please put your hands there. On the count of 3, you will lift yourself up. 1, 2, 3. Alright, you can relax. And that's 20 centimeters. Both values will thus be divided and multiplied by 100 to get a percentage. This percentage will be able to tell me how good his flexibility is and will thus give me an idea as to the type of exercises the client can and cannot do depending on his result. So we'll take the measurement from his chin to the ground, the first measurement, and divide it by the second measurement and times it by 100. Okay, I'll be taking you through one of the muscle endurance exercises, a push-up. The push-up focuses on the endurance and strength of pectorals, the triceps, and the shoulder muscles. In order for a push-up to be done correctly, we need to ensure that the client has no major or minor injuries within the upper body region. My client will be lying in a prone position on the floor with hands positioned shoulder width apart. So please, your hands will be lying shoulder width apart, with your fingers facing forward. And now we need to ensure that your back is completely straight, so there are no arches or dips when you're doing the push-up. So just come a bit forward, come forward. Your feet need to also be the same width apart as your hands, right? So since my client is a male, please just go further down. Since my client is a male, I will place my fist under in order for us to do the push-up test. And when he goes all the way down, his chest needs to touch my fist. And then we can start counting how many push-ups he can do in 60 seconds. So he'll go all the way down to touch my chest, and all the way up, and that counts as 1. I will now be taking my client through a power test, of which we will focus on the vertical jump. This test will focus on his lower body strength that propels the body up vertically. So what he'll do is we're going to use a pencil so he can mark how high he jumps, and he'll stand vertical to the wall and try and jump as high as he can whilst leaving a mark at the highest point at which he can reach. I will then measure the distance between the 2 marks and record the best mark out of the 3 trials that he will perform. So you'll take the pencil and try and hold it right at the bottom. What the client is going to do first is he's going to make a mark, completely static, right? Okay, now he will perform the first jump. Okay, on the count of 3, he's going to jump. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so good Now he'll perform the second jump. 1, 2, 3. You can see that's a little bit higher than the first one. And now lastly, the third jump. 1, 2, 3. I'll measure the distance between the highest point and the first point that we took. And that is 58 centimeters. My client is now going to perform a cardiovascular test. This test evaluates the effectiveness of the cardiovascular system to supply oxygen and nutrients to the working muscles, as well as the ability of these muscles to utilize the oxygen and nutrients. VO2 max is the rate of oxygen uptake during maximal aerobic exercise. So my client will be performing the step test. For this test we will need a 12-inch step, which we have right here, a stopwatch, which I'll be using on my phone, as well as the metronome, which I have on my phone. He should perform 24 complete step-ups per minute, regulated with the metronome set at 96 beats per minute. So first I will take his resting heart rate. Then I will demonstrate how the activity is done and allow the client to familiarize himself with it before we begin the actual test. He will perform this test in exactly 3 minutes. Upon completion of the 3 minutes, the client will remain standing while the heart rate is measured for a 15-second interval from 5 to 25 seconds to recovery. So first, here's the metronome, and we will set it. So now I'm going to perform the step test. Okay? The step test. Right, so we'll set the time as well as the metronome. Okay, 3, 2, 1. So in order to get the results for this test, we'll take 111.33 and minus it from his recovery heart rate and multiply that by 0.42. I will now be taking my client through programming exercises. We will begin with a cardiovascular exercise, and what we'll be doing here is he will be riding a bike just to get his heart rate up and to get a bit warm and to warm up his muscles. So we'll begin the exercise by cycling. He will cycle for 5 minutes just to warm up. I will now be taking my client through 2 resistance upper body exercises. We're going to use a kettlebell and he will perform a 1-arm bicep curl. So your elbow tucked towards your body, you're going to pull your lower arm towards yourself, towards your shoulder, and then you're going to do a full flexion down towards the bottom, towards the ground. The second exercise my client will be doing is a 1-armed kettlebell shoulder press. So what you're going to do is you're going to try and keep your body as straight as possible, right? Legs can be shoulder width apart. And you will take the kettlebell in the one arm and you'll press it up towards the sky. The other arm, if it's too heavy, you can place it on your hip just for support. And make sure that you're not leaning your elbow towards the front or too much towards the back. Okay. Let's see how you do it. And all the way up, all the way down. The 2 lower body resistance exercises that my client will be performing today is just a basic squat and basic lunge, and he will do a total of 3 sets for each, and you will do 12 reps. So first we'll begin with the squat. So what you want to do is you're going to keep your toes completely forward and have your legs a comfortable distance apart, right? When you lean back into the squat, you're going to try and keep your back as straight as possible. Usually people have the problem of, going over and, it just messes up your back as well. So you need to try and keep your posture as great as possible. You also want to try and you want to ensure that your weight is completely in your heels and not over your toes, so that you're not going to damage your knees. Alright? So you're going to try and keep your arms either forward so that you know that your back is completely upright, or you can put on your hips or wherever is comfortable for you. So what you're going to do is you're going to go all the way down hold, and all the way up. All the way down, and all the way up. Right, let's see. So we'll do 12 reps. Let's go. 3, 2, 1. That's 1, 2, 3. For our core exercise, my client will be doing a plank. So please could you just come onto the ground? What you're going to do is you want to have your arms shoulder width apart, facing forward, right? Your palms must be on the ground. Your body needs to be completely flat because it's in the title, a plank. Your feet also need to be shoulder width apart. So when you go down, shoulder width apart, palms facing down, your back or your whole body is completely straight, your legs and your feet shoulder width apart, and you just hold it. Making no movement in your body. Right? So, shoulder width apart, feet shoulder width apart, and you just hold it. I'll be taking my client through a PNF stretch. What you're going to do is you want to lay on your back. So we're going to do alternating legs. We'll start with your right leg. I will gradually pull it up, and we're going to keep your foot completely parallel, alright, to the ground. And your knee also needs to be completely straight when we're doing this, and we'll push slowly so we can stretch the hamstrings. And then tie a leg. We hold for a couple of seconds. And all the way down, and we repeat on the other leg. Right, the next lower body workout we'll be performing is a lunge. So what you want to do with a lunge, just a static lunge, so you're not going to be moving up and down, you'll just be in one space. Alright, so you're going to put whichever leg you want to start with first, so let's begin with the right leg in front of your left. When you bend down into the lunge, right, you don't want your knee to go over your toes, right? You want to keep it completely 90 degrees. When it's 90 degrees, so you're going to bend all the way down and come all the way up. And also when you come all the way up, ensure that you don't straighten your knee completely. Right, so you're not going to want to go all the way down, all the way down, and then stretch your knee like that. You want to try and keep it bent. Right. Let's try that out. Try and get distance between your legs as well, so that you're not too close together. And he will also do 3 sets of 12 reps.